When sitting down to write a song, the composer has a unique opportunity in front of them. The lyric sheet provides an open canvas for the artist to write about anything they could possibly dream up. It could be abstract, it could be fiction, and sometimes it could be an actual person. Instead of just combing through their own personal psyches, these bands have moulded fantastic tracks based on the actual things happening around them. Whether it's someone they know, something they read, or even one of their own inspirations, these lyricists have abandoned the more artsy lyrical approach to give the listener detailed accounts of something they saw as artistically potent. It may be good, bad, or indifferent, but each of these everyday people will now have their names etched in the world of music for decades to come. I am Kirsten from WhatCulture, and these are 8 rock songs written about real people. Number 8, Spoon Man by Soundgarden. While Soundgarden had been one of the more successful rock bands of the Seattle scene, their approach to rock lyrics were not always thought-provoking. Even the band's biggest hit, Black Hole Sun, is borderline nonsensical, with writer Chris Cornell admitting that he was just painting with words instead of relying on narrative structures. On the other hand, Spoon Man is the first-hand account of one of the heroes of the Seattle local scene. On the streets where many Seattle bands paid their dues, a street performer named Artist the Spoon Man would play his kitchenware for anyone to hear. Once the band hit the studio, they wrote this pummeling tune to immortalise the zany street performer from their early days. Chris Cornell's vocals on this track have some of his greatest screams, along with one of the meatiest riffs the band has ever come up with. The song even has an extended drum break after the guitar solo, featuring Artist himself playing his trademark spoons. Is it a look of admiration towards the performer? Is it an unflattering form of mockery? Whatever it is, many thanks are owed to Artist the Spoon Man for inspiring one of the greatest tracks from these Seattle giants. Number 7, Candle in the Wind by Elton John. By the time the mid-70s rolled around, Elton John was on a winning streak for the ages. He had one of the best bands in Britain at the time and was in the midst of a fantastic career partnership with lyricist Bernie Taupin. As the band settled down in the English countryside to write the double album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Taupin came up with a brilliant pastiche of the Hollywood lifestyle. Candle in the Wind is a heart-wrenching tale of Marilyn Monroe's life, from actress to sex symbol to eventual sad demise. Set to Elton's passionate melody, the song is filled with quiet admiration for Monroe, as she was able to hold herself together when her personal life seemed the most grim. While the lyric is centered around Monroe herself, it has the beauty of being able to be applied to many different superstars cut down in the prime of their lives. The song even took on a new life in the 90s, where John rewrote the words for Princess Diana as Britain paid her farewell after her tragic death. A truly touching tribute to those flickering lights of Hollywood that burn out before the world was ready for them to end. Number 6, Rooster by Alice in Chains. Dirt by Alice in Chains is known today as one of the most introspective records to come out of the grunge era. Centered around drug addiction, this record shows the band wrestling with their demons as they descend further and further down the narcotics slide into hell. However, halfway through we hear torture of a different kind on Rooster. Instead of focusing on drug-fueled excess, guitarist Jerry Cantrell composed this song after having talks with his father about his time in Vietnam. Nicknamed the Rooster, Cantrell's father's gruesome ordeals in the service are put at the forefront of this tune, as Lane Staley sings about the horrors of war. When the Rooster is not fending off bullets and disease from mosquitoes, he's watching his fellow soldiers around him dying. However, this song is definitely not a song of defeat. After each verse, the Rooster stands tall as Staley affirms that he ain't gonna die. Cantrell's guitars also drench this song in melancholy ambience, as if you are right there as the Rooster works his way through the war-infested jungle. Though he may come out on the other side, the unspeakable things the Rooster had to endure can be felt through every note Alice in Chains plays. Number 5, Layla by Derek and the Dominos. After dissolving the supergroup Cream and having further solo success with other bands like Blind Faith, Eric Clapton formed yet another group with Derek and the Dominos. Though he was riding high professionally, Clapton's love life was at its most contentious. While meeting Pattie Boyd in the late 60s, Clapton became more and more infatuated with this blonde bombshell. The only issue was that Boyd was already married to Clapton's best friend, George Harrison. Rather than directly act on his romantic romantic desires, Slowhand poured all his lovelorn sorrow into LAYLA, which outlined his inner torment at not being able to express himself to his love. In addition to having a fantastic tale of unrequited love, the song also features some of Clapton's best riffs, along with a beautiful slide guitar passage from Duane Allman of the Allman Brothers. The song did have sort of a happy ending when Boyd left Harrison for Clapton, which presented one of rock music's most famous love triangles. Though there was said to be little animosity between Harrison and Clapton over time, LAYLA remains one of hard rock's most gripping tales of unattainable love. Number 4, Pride by U2. It's no secret that U2 are not afraid to speak up for causes that they believe in. With albums like War and October, Bono's lyrics went from typical rock abstraction into pointed musical statements, dealing with the relevant world issues on songs like Sunday Bloody Sunday and New Year's Day. When the band got to recording The Unforgettable Fire, one of the standout tracks came in the form of the song Pride, whose lyrics had a more specific antecedent. Rather than reaching for more universal topics, this tune is a beautiful tribute to the great American civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Throughout the track, Bono paints a breathtakingly sonic tapestry of a man who spoke up for love and equality between humans of any creed or colour. While the song also details King's terrible assassination in April of 1968, Bono intones that death is not the end when it comes to promoting equality. Given all of the specific accounts of the man's life, Pride never feels like a lecture, as the Edge's guitar hooks you in and Bono's vocal performance captivates you from the very beginning. By broadening their lyric and sonic palette, U2 use their music less as an entertainment and more like a cultural force to change the world around them. Number 3, Holly by Nirvana. Kurt Cobain was not one to wax poetic throughout any of Nirvana's hits. While some Nirvana songs dealt with difficult subjects, Cobain maintained that the melody was always the focus, with the lyrics almost being an afterthought. When approaching the acoustic cut Polly, things slowly started to turn a page. The lyrics of this song come from a news article Cobain had read about a woman who was sexually assaulted and tortured at a rock show in Washington. In an attempt to break free, she decided to pretend to have chemistry with her attacker, which led to him letting his guard down and her escaping. Cobain was really taken aback by the story and wrote Polly around the tale, with Cobain himself taking the point of view of the torturer. With its bare-bones structure, this song is one of the most haunting tracks the band would ever deliver. Beyond this single track, Polly was artistically significant in showing Nirvana's strong advocacy for women's rights. Cobain even went on to put in the liner notes of the B-sides compilation Incesticide that he looks with disdain on any Nirvana fan showing any form of bigotry. From this one song, Nirvana broke down the barriers of hard rock machismo and called for alt-rock equality. Number 2, How Do You Sleep by John Lennon. Once the Beatles had dissolved in the early 70s, there was a lot of bad blood still festering between the Fab Four. While most artists were too timid to touch on their more personal relationships, John Lennon laid out his frustration with Paul McCartney in his funky rocker How Do You Sleep. Written as an open letter to his former writing partner, Lennon holds nothing back as he proceeds to throw shade at McCartney's more laid-back style. The song takes jabs at McCartney's dictating presence during the band's psychedelic period, while also suggesting he was washed up by the time the infamous Paul is dead rumour came to fruition. Numerous Beatles tunes are thrown into the mix, like Sgt. Pepper and even Paul's masterpiece Yesterday, which Lennon suggests is the only worthwhile thing McCartney ever thought up. Just a few months later, McCartney himself would fire back at Lennon with the song Too Many People, where he criticised the more political side of Lennon's persona and how it was him who broke the Beatles apart. While the Beatles released some of the most fun-filled music of the rock genre, songs like these show that there was much nastier stuff underneath the surface. Number 1, Jeremy by Pearl Jam. In the early days of grunge, most lyrics seemed irrelevant for bands. While bands like Soundgarden had breathtaking imagery in their lyrics, it was always more about building atmosphere rather than telling a story. Even Nirvana leader Kurt Cobain was notorious for writing lyrics minutes before a take. Pearl Jam were a different breed of songwriter though. In the middle of the band's breakthrough release 10, they had fashioned a song that took a disturbing suburban tale into the rock sphere. Coming from a real news story, Vedder used Jeremy to recount the actions of a young boy who committed suicide in front of his class. The verses detail all of the horrible things done to Jeremy, from getting picked on at school to the apathy of his parents. By just leaving the chorus as Jeremy spoke in class today, Eddie Vedder spoke volumes to legions of disaffected youth. Accompanied by a breathtaking music video, Jeremy became one of the most tortured rock songs to ever blow up on the charts. As the band would begin to distance themselves from the rock spotlight, Jeremy is a song that plants itself into your psyche as a truly timeless piece of musical reportage. And that's our list. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below, and if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. But for now, I have been Kirsten from WhatCulture, and I will see you in the next video.